we've hit a bit of a quiet point in the NHL offseason, so I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about the enigma that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, if you're a Leaf fan, I understand you're a little suspicious. You see me sitting in this room with my Blue Jackets shirt, and you're just going to think, okay, this guy's just going to hate on the Leafs for however long this video is, but I assure you, I did not lie in the title of this video. I don't hate Toronto. I actually took great joy in watching the Raptors beat the Warriors for the NBA title in 2019, but I, like many other sports fans, are just drawn to chaos. That's why stuff like March Madness is still the NCAA's biggest moneymaker for forever now. That's why our playoff systems, despite working with the smallest sample sizes, are seen as the measuring stick for success. And it just so happens that when the Leafs melt down, they do so in the most chaotic ways that you just can't help but take joy in as a neutral observer, at least for me anyway. And looking at the current offseason situation, we don't even have to go back to when the Maple Leafs were actually still playing hockey to find chaos. Just this offseason alone has been a whirlwind of soap opera and emotion, as both the Austin Matthews and William Nylander contract negotiations have just been great drama, where Austin Matthews probably will sign with the Maple Leafs. That's pretty much a done deal. It's just an issue of how much and how long, and both options of long-term deal with more money or short-term deal with less money is going to cause, both praise and hysteria from Leaf fans and neutral observers alike. William Nylander, probably, if he doesn't budge on what he's asking for, probably doesn't fit, and then you get into a whole nother saga of what to do with this player. You still have him under contract for one more season, but again, unless he budges on what he's asking for, probably doesn't fit in the long-term scheme for Toronto. It's just the offseason in general, and not just the contract negotiations either for the Leafs, have been interesting. Even before that, with the Kyle Dubas press conference and then the firing that was made shortly after, some of the Shanahan drama, how much has he been involved in this all along with the hiring of Brad Treliving. The draft was pretty normal for most teams across the board. Nothing really happened there. But then you hit free agency and even more stuff with Toronto, where it was a weird first day with the signing of Ryan Reeves and John Klingberg. But then day two, which was, by all accounts, a huge win for Toronto, with Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi signing on pretty cheap one-year deals. And it looks like they're doing what they've been doing this whole time as far as this core with, the core four, building a team around them that should, you would think, have a pretty lengthy run in the playoffs, or at least be one of the favorites going in. And that's what makes the playoff implosions all that more interesting, where the Leafs don't really lose these playoff series in normal ways where they fight valiantly, but they're just overmatched and they lose the series in 6 or anything like that. Just the sheer number of times they've either forced or have been forced into a win or go home situation in the past 5 or 6 years is just crazy. And what's even stranger is their inability to really make much of an impact in those win or go home games. It's not even that they're usually even that close. Usually the Leafs are by far the worst team in those games, which is just odd to think considering the sheer amount of high-end talent that should be able to at least appear in one game and make a difference there. This just hasn't really happened. And then this year comes along. They finally break through that first-round barrier against the team that beat them last year, no less. So they do get a little bit of revenge against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then they move on to play Florida, another team from Florida, and the Panthers. And the Panthers just gentlemen sweep them in a pretty dominant fashion either. It's not like the Hurricanes, where each and every game was a tightly contested, battle or anything. It looked like the Panthers just kind of swept the floor with the Leafs for most of that series anyway. And so it does seem like even though they did move on to a new playoff round, it kind of felt like no progress was made, which was probably the catalyst for a lot of these free agent signings that had a little bit more snarl and nastiness, where they might be sacrificing a bit more of offensive output, but if they have that toughness and the grit to make it past some of these rounds, or to just have a general better compete level with some of these more physical teams in the playoffs, that would theoretically make those moves worth it. So they've done it again, and they've built this team around the core four, which who knows what's being kept and what's being moved. That's another topic all of itself. And so they've added a lot of what they have what is perceived to be needed of the team while still keeping a lot of skill around. Bertuzzi and Domi, while they are, annoying to play against and they're tough and stuff like that, they do have a lot of skill in their game. So this could have a variety of outcomes that makes everyone happy about imagining what this upcoming season for the Leafs could be, where Leaf fans, they can head into the season with some well-earned optimism from what they've done in the offseason, while the detractors and maybe more pessimistic Leaf fans, they can point to previous results as just evidence in and of itself that no matter what they try, as long as this core group of players are around, or even if they're not, just for whatever reason, the Maple Leafs will fail in their endeavor. Now, from the standpoint of a neutral observer, just in my opinion, a great team that happens to implode when it matters most is going to be more entertaining to watch than a great team that is simply great, which is what we saw with the Vegas Golden Knights. And while the Vegas Golden Knights were, they were awe-inspiring to watch, there's just something that gives more entertainment value to me personally, and I think a lot of more people who feel like I do, when a team like the Maple Leafs, they seem like they do everything they can, and they I can't really point to a move where that was really bad, maybe besides maybe the Matt Murray contract, but even when he was healthy, he was still playing pretty good, and just for whatever reason, it just seems to blow up in spectacular fashion. But that's going to be it from me. You can tell me how you feel about this team down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far into it, I will see you at the next one.